let's move on to Lwandle then, Premier, and talking about the forced removal of the squatters yesterday. You say that as owners of the land, SANRAL and the Human Settlements Minister must provide answers. What exactly are we hoping to get from them on the situation? How are you hoping to, what answers are you hoping to get from these from both organizations?
Well, that eviction took us totally by surprise yesterday. We hadn't been informed of it. We didn't know anything about its pending nature. In fact, that is SANRAL land, as you have said. SANRAL wants to build some kind of road reserve there or deviate the N2 there. They got a court order evicting the people, and they didn't inform the province or human settlements in the city or anybody else. So they need to answer those questions, and the National Minister of Transport and the National Minister of Housing need to answer those questions, as well as the South African National Roads Agency.
Now, the City of Cape Town saying that it had repeatedly warned SANRAL that they needed to do something about this piece of land, that they needed to guard against invasions of the land. Just give us some idea of just what your interactions had been with SANRAL officials prior to this eviction, and just what were those conversations that had actually taken place?
Well, we've had absolutely no contact from the province's side with SANRAL, none at all. The city had been, I understand, negotiating with SANRAL to buy that land so the city could provide proper services on that land. Those negotiations, I understand from the city, were quite far advanced. But when the city took SANRAL to court to get an interdict against e-tolling, I understand that SANRAL broke off those negotiations and then proceeded to get a court order to evict the people.
Premier, are you aware of any other areas that might be, or informal settlers or squatters in any other areas that might be facing the same fate in the coming days or weeks?
Well, I'm not aware of other areas. I just know that SANRAL wants to reroute into past Somerset West, and apparently that land occupation had been in the way of that rerouting. That's all I've been able to gather in my efforts to get information yesterday.
How involved are you going to get at this stage? We know that the city is saying that it's now going to help these homeless people who are now homeless actually get on with their lives. How involved do you actually plan to get in this issue?
Well, I'm certainly going to speak to the city and to determine how they are going to respond to it, because they were in negotiations with SANRAL to buy that land so that they could upgrade it and provide services to the people living on it. So I'd like to hear from the city how they're going to respond to the situation in the first instance. In effect, our hands are tied because we have a court order. The city and the province don't have a court order. We weren't enjoined in that court order. We have nothing to do with it. But SANRAL has an eviction order from the court, as I understand it. And that eviction order from a court of law cannot be stopped by any sphere of government at all. So these are some of the challenges we'll face, but I will certainly be investigating further this morning. I spent a lot of my time yesterday trying to get to the bottom of this and trying to establish the facts. But I think today there's a big meeting in the city, and they will pull all the facts together, and I will certainly keep abreast of the situation.
Right. And Premier, just to clarify for us, you say that SANRAL wants to reroute the highway, which of course takes them through this piece of land. Just trying to understand how you weren't aware at all of any of these plans prior to yesterday, and exactly what situation these residents would find themselves in.
Look, I'm finding it very, very difficult to hear you because there's an enormous echo, so I just pick up a couple of words and then I have to guess what you're asking me. So it's very difficult, but yes, SANRAL does want to reroute the N2, and it did want to provide a toll road, and the city was very opposed to that. And that is when the negotiations for the city to buy the SANRAL land, according to my information, broke down. And that's when SANRAL went to get the interdict to remove the people.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. That's Western Cape Premier Helen Zille. We will, of course, get back to her after she's been more briefed and has had more interaction with those involved in the story.
Know more. ENCA.com